Hello, everyone. Today's Bible reading is from Ezekiel chapter 31 through 33. In these chapters, actually starting in chapter 29, there are 6 prophecies against the nation of Egypt. One thing I noticed right off the bat is that the dates are not in chronological order. Ezekiel is careful to record the exact dates that the word of the Lord came to him. In chapter 29, verse 1, he says, 10th year, 10th month, 12th day. That's around 588 BC. He gives the first prophecy about the destruction of Egypt. Halfway through chapter 29 and verse 17 is the second prophecy listed. He says, 27th year, first month, and the first day. That's around 571 BC, about 17 years after the first one that we just read about, beginning in chapter 29. Ezekiel was keeping a journal or a log of the prophecies given to him, complete with dates. This one must have been inserted between 2 previous prophecies. This prophecy was still about 4 years before it actually happened, though. This final destruction of Egypt happened in 567 BC. So he wasn't just recording historical events after the fact. He was demonstrating his faithfulness and accuracy in recording what God had showed him. The other 4 prophecies about Egypt in chapters 30 through 33 do follow in chronological order. In chapter 31, Egypt is compared to the nation of Assyria, which had been destroyed just a few years earlier. God had made them like a beautiful tree, it says, saying that none of the trees in the garden of God was equal to it in beauty, and even the trees of Eden envied it. Birds nested in its branches, animals gave birth to their young under its shadow. Life was good. They were a successful society, strong, probably the greatest nation on earth up to that time. Verses 10 through 17 says, Assyria's heart was proud of its height. Assyria became proud of her greatness and was thrown down. In verse 18 it says, as it happened to Assyria, so it will be in Egypt. Pharaoh, along with all his people, would lie among those slain by the sword. He would get no fancy, elaborate burial like the pharaohs before him. No treasures and mummification or royal funeral for him. This was probably Pharaoh Hophra. He's not mentioned by name here, but he is in Jeremiah 44:30. He's the same one who King Zedekiah called on for help. This King Hophra, I studied and looked for history of him, and it's exactly how Ezekiel said it. He died and fell in the field with the common soldier. The verse says, he will lie among the uncircumcised dead. I found in my study that the Egyptians did practice circumcision, but usually only among the elite. King Hophra fell among the uncircumcised dead. This prophecy, with all its specific detail, was given about 19 years before it actually happened. And it happened just like Ezekiel said. Historical records of the battle tell us that Pharaoh Hophra fell in the field, was not given any special honor. The prophecy said they would be humbled in their death. Chapter 32 is similar to chapter 29. He says, Pharaoh considers himself a lion of the nations, but the Lord says, you are a dragon in the seas, a monster, a crocodile. The crocodile was a fearsome creature of the Nile. It says, you trouble the waters and follow the rivers, but I will put a hook in you and cast you on dry land to be slaughtered. The crocodile god was considered Egypt's protector. He goes on to say, the sword of the king of Babylon shall come upon you. I will cause your multitude to fall by the swords of the mighty ones, all of them the most ruthless of nations. Going on to chapter 33, God tells Ezekiel to speak about the watchman again. He's already spoken about this in chapter 3, where he was told how critical his calling was. Basically, we have to watch each other's back. If we see the enemy coming, we're responsible to warn each other. God has called us as watchmen. Verse 7 says, whenever you hear a word from my mouth, you shall give them warning from me. It's very important that when God tells us something for someone else that we're faithful. Some will never hear from God unless we tell them. And we're people of faith. We know that God does speak to us. He says, when all these things that I say come to pass, then you will know that I am the Lord. This phrase, then you will know that I am the Lord, is used 72 times in the book of Ezekiel. It's used a few times by the other prophets too, but 72 times in the book of Ezekiel alone. It says, then you will know that I am the Lord. The people of Israel had a misunderstanding about who God is, and he was correcting that. Verse 11 says, as I live, declares the Lord, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. He goes on to say that past sins will not keep someone from life if they turn and do righteousness. And he says past righteous deeds will not keep someone from dying if they trust in their own righteousness and turn and do wickedness. I believe this is just saying that if we're going to walk with God, it has to be today. What we do today and tomorrow is more important than what we did yesterday. I'm not saying this is what saves us. We're only saved by faith in what Jesus did for us on the cross. It's about redeeming the time. We all have a limited amount of time allotted to us. Let's live for Jesus today.